6 a.m.
Okay, welcome
weekdays.
everybody to
Also,
Sony NAB Live, our 10 a.m. show. Today, it's all about C, to experience the most innovative cloud-based production tools ever created. Now, just to launch the show here, we're going to go to a video to kind of give you an overview of what C is all about, and you can run that video right now. Okay, gives you some idea of what C is all about. I'd like to introduce our guests today. On my far left, we have Dan Hitomi, Senior Director of Product at Sony Media Cloud Services, also known as Product Dude. And Philip Grossman, Senior Director, Content Acquisition and Management from The Weather Company, parent of The Weather Channel. And in the audience, we have Michael Potts, Director of Customer Service, Sony Media Cloud Services as well. Michael will be joining the discussion as well. Let's get right into it, Dan. Just kind of give us an overview of what C is all about and why it was created.
Sure. So I'm super excited to see this video because it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm super excited about where this is going. I think we've been working very hard to bring something so differentiated and innovative for this market because I really believe that it needs it. I think we all recognize where the cloud is and what it means for all industries, including video production, and that's what C is all about, which is trying to create a new way to work within the cloud for video professionals and media professionals around the world.
Very good. And I wanted to also remind everybody here, we are open for questions, so certainly raise your hand if you do have a question. We can get a mic to you. Also, people watching online, if you're on Twitter, please tweet Sony NAB to ask your questions, make your comments. We are also giving away a Sony Action Cam for the best question comment, so get those questions in. I'd like to bring in Phil a little bit here. Phil, I mean, you're using it for the Weather Channel.
Correct.
What were you looking for in the cloud to do for you?
Well, when we first adopted it, was sort of our long-form team needed a way to get material in and have their team be able to review the material. You know, people were pitching shows, and they were getting links to Vimeo, and someone sent in a small QuickTime file, and we had heard about C, and I said, I think this might be a great solution. So that's where we started, and then after that, team started using it, another team heard about it, and another team, so we've, you know, kind of grown it to, you know, as it says, the Swiss Army knife for distribution for us. So, you know, we had our teams go to Sochi, and we used the C to get all the material back to us, so they could, you know, because of the time shift, they get stuff at night. It's ready in the morning for the editors. It was fantastic.
And speaking of Sochi, I'm going to ask our folks backstage to go to that. We have a video from Sochi that we're going to play in the background to kind of show. But kind of what made C a fit for the Weather Channel overall?
It was just its flexibility. The fact they can do so many different things. If I had $1 for every time I heard someone in the company go, well, just stick it on Dropbox, or we'll just stick it on Google Drive. I said, but first of all, it breaks uploading it. It breaks downloading it. No one knows how to click on it. They have to download the whole file to see it. I said, we have a better solution. And so we've been using it for all different things. In fact, recently, some people may know, we are removed from DirecTV. So we launched our AMHQ morning program with Sam Champion, formerly of Good Morning America, and our reporters who had DirecTV could not review the show. So we were able to cut it down in our CAM system and immediately get it up to the cloud to see, sent the links out to all the reporters. They were able to review the show and write good stories about it.
Excellent. Now, speaking of review, I logged on to it to actually download the Sochi video for this presentation, and the interface is great. It's very user-friendly. Speaking about, that's one of the features I love, the review and leaving. Can you speak to that a little bit, Dan?
Sure. So I'm very familiar with this space, and I think we can all empathize that. How do you properly describe something so rich like a video? And trying to do that over email and trying to provide the feedback in terms of change this or change that, and you probably have endless emails saying, what are you talking about? And so with our tool, you can actually go to the specific frame, annotate it visually, and now you're actually having a conversation, collaborating with each other about the specific shot, and not trying to have the overhead of, no, I meant this part here. What do you mean by this part over here? So this is a greater and faster way. It yields so much more efficient workflows for people involved in that production, post-production process.
I don't know, Michael, I want to get you involved as well. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think Dan said it all, but those are appropriate comments. No, we see the use case though is not just about production workflow. It also is. We've also found a lot of traction in the educational market where we're actually being used in the classroom, and University of Southern California uses us in 4 or 5 classes per semester, and their professors actually go through their final cuts, their final assignments, and actually grade them in the video review application.
Great, excellent. I'm going to direct this to all 3 of you. What are some of the common challenges that companies in television, media, publishing, broadcasting, and content creation fields face?
Is this for me?
Anybody wants to take it?
Sure. So I think obviously with content, there's this artistic component to this. There's a pride of my content, and so security does actually come top to mind. So we are ISO 27001 compliant, and we're also MPAA certified. And these are things to help provide some more assurances to customers who really value the content they're actually creating and delivering to different people. We absolutely want to preserve that as part of our culture and our value of our product, and we hope to basically just build on that. In addition, I'll say that we also are under the Sony umbrella, and there is a lot of interest to make sure that everything is secure. And so we're under our global information security practice, so we are actually getting monitored and penetration tested in every minute to make sure that everyone's content is as safe as possible.
I'd say for us, it's distribution. How do we get our content out? We have television, which is great. Then we have so many other clients, whether it be our ad sales teams and variations. We have to get content to them to review. And you can't, and media, our files are huge. 500 megabytes, is a tiny email. Ours are, gigabytes in nature. And consistently have issues trying to get things around. This solved our problem. In fact, as one of our examples, we were launching a relationship with some media outlets in the UK. And our teams had no idea, how do we get the files there? And they were going to take the links from our website and send them to them and let them download it. Well, they were already compressed, and said, no, we've got a solution. And so I happened to be in New York, and I picked up the original files from my laptop, uploaded them to C, and then picked the proxy that they wanted to use and sent them the link, and within an hour of that, they had them in the UK ready to go.
And that's a great story, actually. In fact, when we launched our teams, we actually had a user who needed to get a 167 gigabyte file to their CEO, and immediately signed up, bought a plan, and we were able to help them. And I think that meant a lot for us, that we were able to be the cloud that actually could do this for her, because she was searching online for other products that could do this, and we were the ones that could do it.
I know when I was downloading the Sochi video, it was multiple gigabytes, and it was just so fast. I've never experienced a cloud service before like that. So fast and easy to get to the file. Yeah. Sony's all about 4K this year. How well does C work with 4K files?
Yeah, so we're continuously partnering within Sony, and so obviously no one can get away from the 4K story. And so we support 4K, and we're going to continue to support more of these professional formats in our system. I think that is ultimately our long-term differentiation, being close with our camera team, but also beginning to provide some more support for these professional formats. And it's going to continue to get better over time, and hopefully we'll have the broadest array of format support possible in the market.
Excellent. Now, Phil, What are some of the specific use cases that you have in mind, beyond Sochi to use with C?
So there's so many. For us, we start off with it's the Swiss Army knife. It helps us figure out what our distribution model needs to be as we're partnering, doing proof of concepts. It doesn't take us a lot of time. It takes us 5 minutes to set something up. And then if we see that this is a valuable element, then we figure out how do we actually build a more robust version of that, of whatever we were doing. So that's our primary use case. And then it's just a matter of distribution. We have the web, we have mobile, we have all these distribution platforms for final product. We don't have a way to get the non-final products out for review. And we have teams all over the United States. Weather Channel doesn't have a lot of its own videographers. We actually do a lot with freelancers, and so we have to have freelancers to be able to get this stuff back. One of the examples we used it in Sochi again, we had a team that did not take an editor with them. They weren't planning on shooting a lot of stuff. They wound up shooting tons of material, and they actually sent up hundreds of little clips. And so our editors started actually downloading them individually. We said, no, you got rough cut it in the web, and then just bring down what you need. And it was, it saved us hours and hours of downloading and having to resort things out. So it's little things like that that we keep discovering every day. Our PR team is now using it because it's a way for them to distribute press releases and to organize PowerPoint presentations and things like that. So we're really finding, and they can attest to it. We keep asking, can you do this? Can you do that? So we keep pushing it to do even more.
Well, I think for us too, the nature of our product is very much built for the end user in mind. And I think we all recognize that we're working in much more project-based manners, so it's all about small teams and being able to quickly assemble people together to execute that piece of work. And our product is very much designed for that, and I believe that's also where the cloud really excels, that you can actually get this elasticity around your needs. So we can spin up a number of workspaces, and then once that work is done, we can basically bring them back down. And I think that is really the power of the cloud, and we really excel in this internal to external collaboration workflow. And I think by nature of that actually, you have to put that file outside of your walls anyways. Right. And so that's where the cloud really makes sense.
And to add to that, the concept of the workspaces is great because I come from an IT background into broadcast, and we're always managing things for groups. And there's hundreds of groups trying to get things done. And with the workspaces, I can assign a workspace to a group, and then they can do whatever they want. They can add people, remove people, add folders, so it's their own area. They have all the tools that everybody else has. They can share stuff amongst it, but they can manage it themselves, which is great.
Let's talk subscription plans. What's available on C?
Everything? No, I'm kidding. It really starts off as low as $10 a month. So I think this is, we even were surprised our own company within Sony said, $10 a month. You realize we sell cameras for $20,000, right? But it is the nature of this business, which is software as a service. It's not about how much you need up front. It's how little do you need to get started. And I think $10 a month is actually where we go. That doesn't mean that we can't offer more of the enterprise company plans. We have the flexibility to offer storage in excess of 10 terabytes if we want to. And we can offer a customized plan for some of our bigger enterprise customers.
Excellent. I think I'd like to open up the floor here if anybody has any questions, or would like maybe take some online questions. I know we had some submitted. If you want to take a look at that. I know we had several that came in.
Okay, first question sent in from Amy. She's asking, do you see C as the future of collaboration in business on projects? And how do you keep the information secure? One password for the project or a password for each user?
Interesting, good question. So I actually come a little bit from background around ad agencies. And so I was familiar with a lot of the different project management software out there, including Basecamp, Asana, AtTask. And some of those experiences and using those tools have actually helped inform this product design. And I think one of the areas that I'm very interested in is trying to provide a more intuitive way in which we can secure access around these workspaces. And so what I believe is trying to keep that security and permission model very simple, but also still make sure that we're satisfying the use cases, right? It's always about what are you trying to do? What are you trying to protect yourself against? And hopefully we will solve that in a very innovative way.
Take another one.
All right. The next question is from Jennifer. She tweeted us, if your work session on C somehow crashes, like if the internet is down, the PC shuts down, is a backup generated so you don't lose your last work?
Yes. So that's the beauty of the cloud, is that we're constantly, keeping and writing data, up to the cloud, which is, backed up consistently. So you're always preserving and saving your latest work.
Great.
I know you have a couple more.
Yeah. All right. So this one is also from Jennifer. She's asking us, how easy is it to work in C Media Cloud? Is it similar to Sony Vegas Pro or Windows Movie Maker?
That's a great question. For us, we look at C being this media platform. It's for media professionals, but we have applications that actually can hook in to solve some of these last mile type workflow problems and challenges. And for us, we actually include some pre-built applications, including our Rough Cut, which is not an editor. It's actually more of a ideation tool, almost a visual wireframing tool to allow anyone, even your marketing person, to be able to take some footage and express an idea within our system. And our goal is to hopefully create an ecosystem where other editing systems, such as Sony Vegas, so I am in touch with them, we're starting to begin to collaborate on our own to basically tie these systems together and be able to do the actual creative and craft editing in their system.
Now, I'm going to jump in here. With all the other cloud services, and there's a ton of, I think I have at least 5 or 10 different subscriptions. This is a very specialized product. What makes it different than other cloud services for storing files or working with files?
Sure. So obviously we recognize that the market around cloud storage is getting very commoditized, and I'm sure there's going to be just a continuous threat of new people and new entrants into this market. But I do think that we're differentiated on really the media file story, which is around video, audio, images. That's where we're going to have some better differentiation from more of the generic file services out there, such as a Dropbox or Box. In addition to that, we're continuously going to be thinking about people like Phil and the people actually doing the actual end capture on the field. I think that's a very important story for us, and I think we can feel empathetic towards it, and we'd like to be able to see that they can actually do their work, be creative out on the edges, and not having to come back into the office to finish that up.
And for us, that's one of the reasons we chose it. We have Dropbox, we have Google Drive, we have all those things, but that's all about small files and about the title of the file. Where this is visual files, and these files are huge. And so for us, it gave us a way to, like you said, it's the media. It allows us to share the media, people to see the media, to control the media. And your model, a lot of these other Google or Dropbox, they're individually oriented. They don't support necessarily an enterprise. It's about an individual. With us, we needed something that thought in terms of an enterprise, because we have lots of people using it, and people leave the company and come to the company, and they can't be the only owner of the media. And so it's really given us that flexibility to be able to share and collaborate from an enterprise perspective.
In addition, we are absolutely committed to try and tying in with our Sony products, and I think that's where some of our differentiation will lie and be sustainable. We have our work with our camera division, where we hope to really be on the forefront of the camera to cloud story, and I think that is going to be something amazing and something that is unique to Sony.
Great integration. I know we have a question out here in the audience.
Yeah, Joe at the University of Oregon. So my question is, and this may be stretching what you intended to do, but would it be possible if we have a lecture, which we recently had the Dalai Lama, for instance, and then have it in the cloud and then stream it from the cloud? So you could have some basic editing because there's a lot of downtime, and maybe just delay it an hour and then stream it from the cloud? Is that possible?
It's possible today. So yes, I think once we actually take in the footage and you actually do the work in that, being able to actually deliver and stream that using C is very much possible.
Excellent. And we have another one?
I'm not standing, it's day 3 of the show.
Speak up nice and loud so everyone can hear.
I'm not standing, it's day 3 of the show. Steve, so in the collaborative workspace area, so we've talked about video, that's important. Can you touch on audio, multiple audio tracks, script files, metadata captured from camera, all of the ancillary pieces that I would need in a full production workflow?
Sure. So, no, it's a great question too. our history is actually from Sony Pictures, so we're deeply embedded and understand the most complex workflows around production management. I think in some cases we may not actually go very deep on those production management areas, but we will partner with some of the production management tools that are beginning to emerge. I think for us, it's about getting these larger files in and then starting to associate that with other artifacts, including some of the scripts, metadata around relationships between this asset to another asset. So it's something that will continuously evolve and monitor. But I do think there's some line there, right, that we'll probably toe a little bit because I think there's plenty of other more specialized production management software out there that would be hard for us to basically focus on, right? We want to basically focus on some of these other broader things to be able to do things more flexibly, because I think it's always a balance of getting too niched into something and then the system's no longer great for Phil here.
I can kind of clarify something on that too. We actually do have customers who, what they'll do is they'll set up their team and they'll go pre, prep, post, production. They'll add up their scripts. They'll go through a lot of their previs. They'll go through a lot of their, deciding how they're gonna go about their production workflow, and they'll do that across multiple teams. The great thing is that we can share the assets across the files across the different teams as well. So you can go and you can feed into that workflow process, and we actually already enable all that. We do support 800 plus file formats. So, and that means documents, PDFs, whatever it is that your scripts might be in. So we support those file formats already. And so it's that, what Dan's referring to is, we're not gonna be like a whole managed layer on top of that. We're gonna make, it's very simple, very straightforward, but it can feed into the whole workflow.
Just to even expand on that, and I think that is a little bit of our app strategy as well. Right, so Rough Cut Video Review are applications really designed to solve, very last mile workflow problem. And so depending on what your needs are, either we will or hopefully one of our partners will develop an application specifically to solve that last mile workflow problem.
I believe we have another question.
Thank you. I've got a question, and I realize it's very early days in the long-term history of Sony C. How does the vertical organizational hierarchy work with your media management? If I could explain what I mean by that, at your most granular level, you might have a frame or an audio sample, and at the very highest level, you'll have, if you like, the organization, and then in between that, you've got maybe a series or an episode within a series, and then you might have, sequences and clips. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So, if I were from a large organization and I wanted to use Sony C, long term, if you like, for my organizational management, how would all the people that work for me relate to it, and how would I organize that from my point of view within C? Does that make sense?
Sort of. So let me ask this question, which is, what do you envision using? So let's talk about how people would use this.
What I'm envisaging is that I might want to store all my material on you, with you. So I might want to organize that. And you always have a number of ways of organizing anything. And I'm just thinking, what would the hierarchy look like?
Okay.
So if I work for, Megacorp, would I have one giant folder essentially within C that says Megacorp? I wouldn't want a completely flat structure within that. I want to have some kind of hierarchy. Yeah. So how would I organize that? What flexibility do I have to organize that? I imagine it's a pretty flat structure at the moment as it's early days.
Correct.
But what do you have in view longer term to allow that kind of organization?
Yes, it's absolutely part of our vision. It's not there today, as you correctly point out. We're starting very simple, but you can see how this will evolve, and even our work at Sony Pictures evolve to more advanced asset management principles, right, around more of the classification, taxonomies, hierarchies, because at the end it's all about search, right? And I think that is a story that we would love to basically find ourselves in. Right now we're in this more file acquisition stage, and then as we start accumulating those files, I do think absolutely that our customers will start demanding for ways to find this information.
And obviously being part of Sony, you'll be able to use existing taxonomic, that's the word, experience and bring it across to C, presumably.
Correct. I mean, I think one of the things that everyone in this industry can appreciate is how much information gets dropped on the floor, and so our goal is hopefully to not let that happen. And I think our collaboration, even with our camera side, gives us a better chance than most others to be able to preserve a lot of that data to make it more searchable and useful for downstream applications.
And I'll just say, I think they're further along than they think because of the flexibility of the systems. One of the things that's very important for us is how do we organize groups and then groups around content, and your user roles and permissionings and folders and workspaces gives us a lot of flexibility, more so than I think that you're leading on to believe. And I think that's one of the reasons we did it and went with C is because it allows us to segment out teams, allows us to segment out people, and then reconnect the various groups as you want to. You can get really, really complex. We try to keep it relatively simple, but we still have that hierarchy, and it's based around the abstract concept of a folder. It's a folder within a folder within a folder, but then you can jump from lower level to upper level on another tree very, very easily within the system.
I should just hire this guy. I mean, my job's done. I mean, he gets it. But I think he actually brings up a great point. That what we're actually putting in place is, I think, context matters, right? So if you actually think about, how we've designed our workspaces, and our sessions, those are things that we're putting in place to basically preserve some of the context, because it's not just about the data, right? It's like, okay, like who touched this data, what happened to this data, and what context was that? Was that data created from our applications like video review? And I think this allows us to be able to connect these things and then be able to recreate the context or even separate those things out because they don't matter. And I think that allows us to do some of these future really cool search capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to piggyback on that and just outline that when you look at your question, it's actually, there's multiple ways to approach it, because you could look at the visual, physical hierarchy that you're developing with workspace, with teams, the workspaces, the files, the folders, or the folders to files, all the way down. Then when you talk about tagging and metadata and searching, that's how you find that stuff. So it's actually two sides to the equation, right? One is, how can you very easily, very simply have an organizational structure like you're looking for, be able to navigate that and search and find those things. The search and finding things, that's what we have to work on yet. But candidly, on the other part, the actual structure, physical structure, it's actually extremely flexible already, and we already have that in place.
Excellent. Now, it's been a fast 30 minutes. One last question I have is, where do customers sign up, and do you want to cover anything that we didn't touch on yet?
Sure. So this is a public site. So if you can access Google, you can access our site. I would encourage you all to go on to SonyMCS.com. That's short for Media Cloud Services. So SonyMCS.com. And just take a look at our videos there. Take a look at the actual use cases that we've already illustrated that we do. And right from there, you can get started today with a free account, and you can grow from there. You don't have to think about, how much do I need? Just get started, and then give us a try.
Anything from you, Phil?
So I not only do I have a corporate account, I have my own personal account too. So.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank Dan and Phil and Michael for joining us today. Please join us again at 4 p.m. for our last show, Sony NAB Live. And we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.